아니 참말라 참 뜻이래. 저라 어디가 된다는데 그래.
So, Tashi Deleg, everyone. I almost forgot we have to start the session with a prayer.
Sanje chöda tsoje chona lae chanjo bade dane chazo jin dage jinzo jebe tsonam jin dolai benjin sanje drubarai sho Sanje chöda tsoje chona lae chanjo bade dane chazo jin dage jinzo jebe tsonam jin dolai benjin sanje drubarai sho Sanje chöda tsoje chona lae chanjo bade dane chazo jin dage jinzo jebe tsonam jin dola benjin sanje drubarai sho Samjen tangje dewa dan dewe jedan denpa juji Dunyen da dunyen ge jedan dewa juji Dunyen mebe dewa danpa dan min dewa juji Nyerin chadan Ninda tewe tanya chenpo lai nebra juji Samjen tangje dewa dan dewe jedan denpa juji Dunyen da dunyen jedan tewa juji Dunyen mebe dewa danpa dan min dewa juji Nyerin chadan ninda tewe tanya chenpo Nebra juji Samjen tangje dewa dan dewe jedan denpa juji Dunyen da dunyen ge jedan tewa juji Dunyen mebe dewa danpa dan min dewa juji Nyeri chadan ninda tewe tanya chenpo nebra juji 다가도니마 가시지랑도 춘삼을 하다보다니 라 갈레저 니치레 아니 다 수술량 티토바 단당한서 딜럽전에 나래 럽전에 마인기 기처럼 남도 시에기 직 독바로 외바이나 아니 수는 디그레스라 아니 땅랑 걸에 지게 강 두두치 시 수신나 레저 줘라 뭔들 시에
So then, for the last few days, you have really put in the effort to listen to the teachings, and you attended these teachings very diligently. And now at this point, if there are any questions, doubts that you still feel needs to be addressed, related with the two root texts itself or unrelated to it, I will try to answer them and address them to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Many questions.
Unrelated to the text. So we have here talked about Buddhist beliefs in hell and maybe heaven, but there is also the belief of multiple reincarnations. So how does that tie into each other? Do we reincarnate after a certain time in hell or heaven, or is it in
Dine tanda di tsawarangda da dewa mesra ta ina ya nganzo ki tanda nangde nanglo la ani dewa riktu ki ani chene do la ira tende nyala ani yida la soba da ani laminam la mi la soba chewa langi yore sungi yore was ta nganzo ki ani yangsi la chikecha shigi yore was ani yangsi la di namju tubu lama ki yangsi la di mayimba ra tsepone ani chewa chima langa jora o tende di korla ani nganzogi kowa gandel lengore wesra pena churang nyala la chenasra nyala la chetsane ani tsepona ra ani chewa shenji langi yore sungoi ras ani di para la tuyun ro jora da nyala na deges ranga tsegi yuring ra dagas ro jore no ti nganzogi kowa gandel soto wa chegore wes
다 도도디라지 같은 여는 제스는 여는 채티 같은 수준이라
냐와다 신다 지네들
단계는 답변 나로래 가르송골라나라 수수기 레지 당한줄래 레 먼저 저와 처음에 bakele는데 레 처음에 봐요. 당한줄기지 녀원도에게 레지 투첨부 삽첨부지 쌓이나 링에 되고 해야 돼. 뉴뉴지 쌓이나 뉴뉴 칼로다 tundu 되고 해야 돼. 라 빼나 아틴들라야 당한줄 지당기 가서 레 카르사나 레긴데 부추면 사와이나 라 페나한테디 미나 동동기 아니 타코 코란 트베르더라 도디가라 아니 코란 저기다 마레 대변 희지체인디게 아니 트베르도 제 코란 왜 희제데 덴바인서 아니 코란 지당 지당도 니지 바체 남 디나로라 미나 동동체래 되게 다치기 레가치 미 갑자데 세기 거의 차시 띵다 라 근데 인디 대변 희지체베 하코네 아니 takogi ani minga jasena ku dipat sab chimbo shojisan ani yaw bet kora lo thame bande go tinde gi dipat sagires tinde insa ngegi ta mi minan dundu chibu se shawena mi shema ngaja de chep thogora ine ya disse bigi dibadi khalana ko ta mi gi soche bigi dibayora ine kunu dia shemba so mambu ji chawa insa nyawa dogo warde 다이 폴로 더버 삼래다 디 따다가 지다 배셔나로 요라 이네 간징가 저 폴로나 시레 레이도 에 간 말리는 마기 더버 삼지 람사야 제야 레토 가스나 코 드야 도어레 가스나 세미기 레데 미시 빌레사 차라 무디 진도 그 레스 이네 연 독바 엘레 고에 칼나 코 숨제 마버지 자야다 군우 야 포치드라 진 코냐 만도야 치다 니니 아니 숨제 마버지 소자야 치 딘데기 니스요라 제스다 ngazuchi pharmacy wada drachomba sewada dindegi chemi lenge basaina nyawle joring nego dindegi ngazu peshanal suda
So herein if we are to make sense of reincarnation, then first we need to make sense of karma and how in our discussions we talk about the infallible nature of cause and effect with relation to the actions that we commit. So one of the characteristics of karma that we need to contemplate on is the fact that karma, once created, will not perish on its own. And now when we say that there is an impelling karma which dictates that we are born in the hell realm and so forth, then the strength of the karma, the strength of the action that we commit dictates whether that particular karma constitutes as an impelling karma which dictates our birth in the hell realm. And then similarly, the strength of the karma dictates the duration of our existence in hell. So to make sense of this, there is a particular story from the Buddha's own previous lives wherein it is said that in one of his lives, the Buddha was a captain of a merchant ship, and in that ship there were 500 crews. And then the Buddha came, the captain came to know that there was one particular person in the crew who was hatching a plan to kill all of the rest of the crew. So when the captain came to know of this, then the captain took it upon himself to kill that one person, and at that point it is said that the captain's motivation was informed by a sense of compassion for that one person, because if left unchecked, that person is going to commit the negative karma of taking the lives of 500 people. So the captain at that point, out of compassion, took it upon himself that even if the negative karma of killing someone ripens on them, they will take it upon themselves to ensure that that one person does not accumulate the karma of killing 500 people. So it is said that the captain killed that one person. Now, when we look at this, there is a motivation which is informed by a sense of compassion, but the action itself constitutes an act of killing. So it is said that that captain, due to that karma that he has accumulated, actually had to take birth in hell, because the action, the karma itself, does not perish just because the motivation is informed by a sense of compassion. But it is said that the captain did not have to suffer in hell for a long period of time because of that motivation he had.
Shibatiwa. Mambut. Many.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So, if Geshema wants to say something about this. My second question is, I asked the same question yesterday also to the meditation teacher, and she asked me to ask this question again to Geshema. So the question is that we are learning all these things in a very comfortable space. Everything is supporting what we really want to achieve, the meditation and all of that. But after this course, we have to go in a practical world, which is most of us goes to a city life or families. And the journey of this whole open heart and open mind, it's a very long journey. What is the basic practical thing if Geshema wants to suggest that we can incorporate in our daily life to maybe achieve what we really want to achieve? But what is the first step? Because now the hurdles we are going to face a lot. And towards the end of the day, you start with the meditation in the morning, but towards the end of the day, you realize, oh shit, I have done again a lot of mistakes. Or maybe you don't have time for that also. So, any basic tool or any basic procedure Geshema wants to make?
The Tiwa Rimba Nida Vayusra, Thangpa di Manzo Thangi Nakoi Nyala da and Hayula Sobaki Kola Tiwa di the Trinity Isra. And in Mitsangma and Hayula Che de Bayorwas. Inaya Mitsangma Shini do your maris. That Sepo ne Hayula Chego and Sepora. The Kogi Tiwa di Tigers. Sama Hayula Che de Nayansra and she do your maro, she do your marowas. Tiwa Thangpa Dichira. Tranyo di Danganzogi. Kazan Kurang any gom jadizamba any gom chicken de la gajeting any Geshema la condition like those. Pena Chashana Tatandang and Zokapsu Bobe any Kuryuk Monetab Debo, Pisum Sopa Chunyam Chia, Kuryu the Dejinala Yoroas. Te Dizamba any gom yamlen chia in a rechik, Tosam chia in a tab de Regioras. Any Yamle do chik chini duna tab de Regioras. That Yena answer. That Zinda di trainer, any pass so chimla logo was, any Lekala logo, that Chizona Paranja logo was. To do some Teda with a Kuryu chick tabs de boy lanare, Presum Sobaji, Regio Marwas, Jeza, any Tanganzogi, Semba Kuyangbo, Ninka, any Kuyangbo Chego Nasra, and it is Kapoda Regiras. Jeza, any Tela Tanganzogi, combat Bodo Masunara. Any Nyamland or Lana Kayola Susuki Yamne Chetuet and Dera, Tende Kare Nasra, Kaisana, any Parjeshu Mango Yunguras, the Tree Yamne Chela, any Chezan, any Gomja in Are, Nimachina Gomjik Dela in a Shoba, Yalan and Gomdo Jado, any Gomo Samatan in this Bayang, Chik Samatan to Zu Jodabo. Tapa Lord to this any Gomja to the Cabo, any chick Tende Susugi. Gedi Gilela Samatan and Kogab Sheda Mejoda Vera, the Deda Yunguras, Chezan, any Kayolaji, any combat humble, which country people in us.
Undi they Geshemura, Tanzil Hay the Dharamshala, Jana year the year, so each Ra, Linde, another Geshema Hamalane, Mazungus Toma, the Tisanjang Hashitane, the Dua, since I could Linde, you or a patient on La Songore. Taina Anzugi. Di Geshembore she Geshembore de Hinea di Jude on the Nirin Ra. The back Geshembore, China di Tua di Bay Geshembora. On the Thangma Kazan and the Shiban, the Dewan de Chantim with Dungin and Jula. Suzuki Dewaji de Gore, Yapoji Chigo Sangor in Womara. Hinea, Manzu Chich the Chun Yamne Chilania, Zamda Tap de Wood, Shimbala Patemo, Suzuki Lola, Joatara. Ra. So this is Yenare, Dinare, Donare, Sanare, Tunare, Robaniam, Susolo, Susolo Yubara. To do Galani, Susolo Chibachin, Kitchen, some Kazuzu shield. Ra, Midgilla patching the Wajina Kazuzu shield. 와 아니 지 레가지 치네 잠보라서 치야 와 아니 아다 가르치는 밀레 땡게 체와이네 심진라로 과 체와이네 간지 수수간스 라벌 유라 교양냠네 제일은 인지미지 하가를 주도 아니 지 쪽쪽으로 니미 좀 텐데 체고야지 말이라 최래 토망 아주 쉬바나 세기 간주기 로 마rum바디 파 야갈 바죠 라 최래는 레오르라사 최래들 그냥 인지미 뭐 동서다 뭐 신차 차고 되는 도네 아 잠잠 마rum바디 토나 히제 삼에 히제체 약포치 토나 아 데데 약포도 제스 이라잖아 그러냐 제스 이라가야 개와차게요 봐. 완전 잠잠 알아서 미기 따나로 취취를 추고도 그 티거도 돼. 원하지게 상관으로 지도 검자 텐데지레 상원데 뒤집어 말해라.
So this is a very important question. The second part of the question more important so than the first, because when we are talking about heaven, hell, and so forth, maybe it is not something tangible that we can kind of come to accept immediately. But with that being said, from the Buddhist perspective, we do recognize that there is indeed all these different realms of existence. And all of these are explained within the framework of karma, the law of causality. So for example, there are many case studies actually of young children and people being able to remember their previous lives. So this points to the fact that indeed there is rebirth as we Buddhists believe. Now, with that being said, when we say that all of us want to be born in heaven and so forth, we need to realize that we are actively accumulating the causes for our next birth actively in this life every day. And if we fail to take this into account, then even if we aspire for spiritual practice, saying that we want to born in heaven and so forth, then it doesn't sound realistic and practical at all. So the second part of the question is much, much more important. How do we actually cultivate a spiritual practice in our daily lives? So from one perspective, if we kind of really take it simply, then the practice of spirituality is not something difficult, and it does not have to depend on so many external factors, because as we stressed at the start of this course, that spirituality is understood as a process of inner transformation. So as such, it is not really dependent on external factors. So in our daily lives, we can simply look at spirituality as a process of observing our minds, what goes in the mind, and to ensure that the actions that are informed by the motivations, emotions that arise in our mind are mindful, are virtuous, and if we are able to do that, then we begin to kind of cultivate a sense of ethical restraint in not engaging in something negative. So we take care of our speech, our attitudes, our thoughts, and our behaviors. This in itself is really what spirituality is all about. Maybe we think of spirituality as being in a retreat space or in a place of worship, sitting in a particular position, and then if we are not doing the inner work that is necessary, then that really does not serve the purpose at all. So to always go back to that understanding of spirituality, that spirituality is a process of inner transformation, then we always have the means to kind of transform ourselves by looking at our minds, observing our minds, and ensuring that our actions are not our actions are ethical and not clouded by these afflictions and influenced by these afflictions. This is what spirituality is. Now, another important thing about the practice of spirituality is, of course, as part of our spiritual practice, we should be able to generate a sense of compassion for those who are suffering. And if we can, we should be able to bring ourselves to help them. Then another important thing is with that, we should also be able to rejoice and appreciate kind acts, good things that people are doing, because this many times we fail to do this, and as such, we begin to lose hope in our own spiritual practice because of this. So a sense of rejoicement, a sense of appreciation for good things, kind actions that we observe in our lives is very important too.
다들 기 저식은 들라네 치더라. 안주 두숨 라이다. 대차 셔다 티무숨라. 다 두숨도나 저당 지금 라간으로 좀 곰자 되되나라. 자수수잉 앞에는 가다 대차로 째는 되는데 방이나 로이 정다데 치초 로이 수수라. 다 곰자 쳐라. 근데 치와이나 가는데 치 빼는 컨트롤라에 주든데 챈드네 테소나 가디도 님부터 땡이. 이때와이나 펜도디도 마때와이나 갈라 아니 갈 님이라고 다 수술에 챈차 디도 삼메기 땅한테 로이 정다데 치초거라. 다 이네 미직 dila lagan ro chila gomja de or ko sanan jo ta ne mo ba khoran de ne kangi thesna dole chela phen thora ta chi mi chi lo garo ya po yo ina ko ngos be thomda ta mi chon samsala dora pena tidigala ani mi changa gala zo ba gom go ya legre khashi ki chik bunda malani ani ya zo ba gom go ya legre pashi ke jo ro jane zo ba gom go ya legre ro khashi ki chi chedan thang dhambu che ma je gala ngari digala 저거 공부에 멈추리기도 봐. 단 되자이나 좀 미기 뜬다 아무래 통고랑 알아 디고 사면다 다 되네 멈추리고라. 더수 삼을 가대자에 무슨 아다 개말 됐던데 요 말을라네. 딘데기 다 갈로 저기 에 르기 년부 때야죠. 무슨 파기라이도. 라 되셔신데 좀 가리네. 세상 딘데 인도가라 지단 수수야 니 곰나로 제 데버드 만디바리라고 말 남디 수다 수수 베는 가족이 다도실래나 가 카티 칸데 짜고라야지 수수 남디 나자 진 선탄 슐룰레 안도운드가라 니 챈 카르테는 들 님부터 뜬투거라 다야 남디 나자 제도 공바 친데니 슐루 로와인 그 님부터서 무스 태오이드가라 딱딱 걸어들 님부터 로 디디가라 오네거라 당아도 디쳐버다 마드면은 진우디가라 칼로 파울라시라 어디 디니라 Paula di am mesi thajo dine ma da susugita chiglo marun ba da phakate chayala pauro chegera.
So now with regards to the actual practice that we cultivate, now it is important to understand this when we say that we need to work on overcoming the three poisons, the three afflictions of anger, attachment and ignorance. It might be the case that as part of our practice we adopt such an approach that we begin to meditate in a quiet space and then try to contemplate the negative effects of these afflictions. Let's say in this particular instance, let's say you begin to meditate on the negative effects of anger and the negative consequences in engaging or reacting out of anger, and how in its place one should cultivate forbearance, its benefits and so forth. And you do this in a quiet space, you meditate. So what is the purpose of that meditation? The purpose of that meditation is to, when the situation arises wherein you feel in your mind there is anger growing, then you should be at that moment be able to confront your anger and to avert anger in that moment. That is the point of that practice. Now, as opposed to this, we should be able to kind of, as we go about our lives, this is maybe a more realistic and practical approach one can take towards our practice. Because, for example, as you go about your lives, then let's say that you are on your way to work, then there are so many opportunities for us to cultivate our practice. In our travels to work, we have to navigate through the crowd. There is the place to cultivate forbearance. There is noise. We get irritated, and then maybe seating arrangement wise, maybe you feel like some people are being unfair. There is the chance to cultivate forbearance in those moments. So when we look at it, the opportunity for us to cultivate a spiritual practice is everywhere. And this is the real moment wherein we need to cultivate our spiritual practice. From the Buddhist perspective, we say that real practice is cultivated in the face of a challenge, not in the safety of a temple or in retreat. And we also use this example in Buddhism. We use the analogy of a warrior. And someone is a warrior when the call for battle is sounded, then they are able to step up and face the enemy head on. So similarly, if we are to be courageous in our spiritual practice, we have to be able to cultivate our practice in the face of the challenging situations in our lives.
Okay. Taslam. Mingas to chick two dora. But the Tisha, and never line. Yeah.
So very first of the teaching we talked about contentment, which is the ground for compassion. To be content, and that's how you can generate compassion, which is a motivation to generate compassion. However, in the modern society where we are, all the physical well-being that we have as well as materialistic well-being that we have, which in a way should also provide or make us feel more content about it. And His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama also says that modern education works so much on your mind, but it enables to work on your heart. And hence my question is that what is the nature of contentment that we are talking about, which is important to facilitate your spiritual path or your spiritual growth? Because that contentment is not the worldly contentment, certainly, which we are talking about.
Tatanda Kurangila editor, Anzu Chokshiba Gore Sunrua, and in Zinra Thangpa Dinala Anzugita, Ninjila Sobagi, any Dinde Chegoya Nasra, Thangbo, and Anzugi Susula Yitsambalane, the Duchung Chokshejira. Duchung Chokshi di any Menasra, any Chigninjila so Chia Ra, Tendetits Kamoregiresra. Any Penachashana, that in Zangi Zamling and a Chingubi Arje the Shibu Halebaras. Any Tela Chimbe, any Chingubu, any Tunje Ra. The Zod any that Telada, any the Kanye Yomares Milaira. Any Inayasra, Tagaran Anzugi, any Choshingi Midoasta, Choshipo Chitugu Midoas. Penachashana Konsocho Korangi Sungodoasra, any Anzugi Tensangi Lopso Tetanjura, Lobjong Shengi Lopso Tetantinala, any Leba Yarjeton and Obera, Tendecola, any Tona Shuchimbo Shuchi, any Anzugi, Misambuche, Ning Yura, Ning Yarjetoyala, any Anzugi that color. Tonanteza maybe any Shenchachis to do and soon yours. Teachers are any Tanganzogi, any Chu Yamlen Namdaji Chegoya Nasra, any Anzogi that Dujung Choshi led the big kitchen board to us. She's on Dujung Choshi led the Tanganzogi Candes, the Cheba Chegura Esra.
Are Chitangi and the Chigilumba in Akrea General Yaburwa. Inea. Manzui Thanpa that Mamma some of the Chavada Yomada Hanji Shingobula, Ra, me as a son of Tandaji, Shingobu 20 the Apojuva, Deji some didn't do some Sanush later. Ra, Inea that is a Kalical in Jordo, but the Ajitsil gave Drotani that delay Goya Pruts of your Desa, Sasa, Tonsa, Dosa, Takanda, Chasan Sandine, Tanu Sembala, Chik Mandama, Ra, Sena Kangete there, Chipu loneliness, Nasale there. 아니 밀라이나 마참이 드니치레이다 칼라나 디슝고 붙지보건 당이메 따세라 자 딘데 냠도냐도 슝고 고야인 바랑아도 사노노진도 카운드는 고도 인데 고거르테 데데 냠도 아니 야럽죠상라야다 샴히게라야 돈좀 메바이나 아니 자로도 마스네 쇼파치마도 메조로 쇼파치기 푸투고 마라 제가 디잉고보다 드조야제 고야시 지라야 아니 디게야 나로 사노탄다 니자 손도 되는 배고래 지단기 누슈 쇼실에 딩아서 탄 디그레 메나 디그레 사야 메나 도야면 드감스 데 디비게 차마라가 니네야 잠잠아서 고야들 뺏셀에 개바치라 치고는 니니고는 숨숨고는 tumtum 딱 간다 근데 고르와 디기 체 싸와니 메베디 디강이 태우라 데바 싸와니 카마토에 베드 코라나서 체카면 디기들은 참아 타부는지 검드냐래 체토니 깔리 카브라 고르와
So if we are to make sense of the importance of contentment, then we have to first make sense of the manner in which we have become discontent with ourselves in the modern way of life. Now, I'm not saying that development, material as well as scientific and so forth, in itself, I'm not saying that it is bad, but in this, it seems to be the case that through the age of development, we have misconstrued this basic fact that our sense of contentment and our sense of happiness can be derived from material prosperity. This is the misconception that we have. And now many people actually live with this misconception. But as we now push to the edges of development and progress, then in the very developed countries, now it is becoming totally apparent that material prosperity, progress and development itself is not the answer at all. Because if we look at the most developed countries, then if indeed material prosperity offers us a sense of contentment and happiness, then it should be the case that in these developed countries people do not suffer from mental stress, loneliness, self-esteem issues and so forth. And in that process, now these are the problems that we can see in the modern world, which points to the fact that material prosperity in itself cannot offer us a true sense of happiness. Now, in that process, we have lost a lot of things in pursuing simply a materialistic way of life. We lose the importance of morality. We lose the importance of love and compassion and so forth. Simply in the pursuit of material gain and material development, we have kind of ignored this. So if we are to really develop a true sense of contentment, we first need to realize the precious nature of these common basic human values of ethics, love and compassion. And if we are able to do that, then we have the means to develop a true sense of contentment, not just simply informed by a sense of pursuing material prosperity. We will learn to place importance on the human interactions that we have and how these interactions should be informed by love, care, concern, compassion and trust. So this is the grounds on the basis on which we can truly develop a true sense of contentment. Now, with regards to spiritual practice, many people actually mistake contentment with depriving yourself of things. Maybe that is not the attitude. Contentment means content with what you have, not depriving yourself of your basic sustenance, basic needs and so forth. This is also important to keep in mind.
Yes.
Ngale, tene mol choy na chiga bangre do shawda.
You had a,
Chil thoyre, chil mene kore.
you had a question?
Maybe no. Di korar. Tene mol do shaw.
So in my own personal experience, I find it very difficult to, when we talk about the worldly concerns, so how others perceive you, I find it very difficult to let go of that. I find I take a lot of, I consider others' opinion of me very important. And you can combine that with some
ta khasang anzo gi jiden chuje la chi song ros o thida ni khora ma susu gerji nyangnyong la ma jar yo na sera ani tits pe khabo re gi dusra kai sena ni khorang gerji samla ta na mi shinda gi susu la ta su jura di pe khechim bo thong dusra
mi shimbe kholta
susu la ta su ti pe khechim bo thong dus kai sena susu gi da dengjok la na dengse ra susu gi sem na la dengse jura 어디 미신다기 따수들라 라글리와도 통고도스라 제자니 지겐 슈제라도 잠바니 직 담년달라 소바 tö메라 소바라 딘델라니 차샤요 마레라 숭겨와스 제자 이나야 수수기 닝도 플라나레 에네 댕쇠라오라다 게르기 셈낭기 댕쇠디 코란라 체나니 직 미신다기 수수라 따수라 미신다기 수수라 직 samlo cherso rojara otila ni shiura legi dus ta di donglen kan de chekor bes
re chitang zo tam hiera da chi khare na ra phagin song gwe ro ra tel tyong gwe yor shilogi me shitang da mrdo ngem gan zo de dongja pala ji de phuji ani ta thin do gorasra themachi le kharshela na phudigi ta she pala di ta thid ani me khala 다 푸드페 마르스 팔라라 콤바제 코란 타션도달라 미글라라 타즈문다 라직제 안젤라 아니 쿠니디 코르도 아니 나 푸디 마파 푸디 타치 팔라디 타션도라스 타신데 다야 푸디 팔라디 두알라스 푸디 콤바제 코란이 타친데 다 코이 디니에 코르 다 인자기 션도야 다 인자기 션도 미 인자기 타치 션도 아 파즈도야 미드 칼라 아 다티니 군주선 페 마르스다 문이 되네 따치션인다 된del라 라데 타마달라 페지 닌자마 팜네 따치 아 다디니 쿠알라 따디 마셔니 칼 미글라라 셔 지단기다 따오 땡거 테스트 따오라 디글라 하파데 미 소솔로 니야와 남디 소솔로 콤디다 소솔 디부 유니 디즈글라나 오네 쳐나라 펜생기 돌라그라 지단기 미드 발발 마부지 시기다 밀 짜와니 니치체마 친지체마 달라기메데 미기 라주디가랑 저 내가 쳐도는 제마도 라 미기 파기 꼴로 두자 옛날에 맨날에 파기게 싸는 땅땅다 코랑이 신다 가리 로제 첼리죠라 그 전부이네 코랑이도 전부인 삼네 남들은 잠을 내려 미 전화지 집을 따르는 거 내가 치투에 깔 가버리라
so this I think is a concern that many of us have actually. We can all relate to this, and because whether we admit it or not, we like to hear good things about ourselves. We like to hear good thing about ourselves. Now, with that being said, if our sense of fulfillment is derived solely from what we hear about ourselves from others, maybe then that doesn't make sense. Now, to kind of highlight this, I will share a small anecdote, like a parable. So, it is said there was a father and a son, and they had a horse. And so the son was riding the horse first, and the father was leading them. And then when some people saw this, then they begin to say, oh, what an irresponsible son. The father has to walk, and he himself is riding the horse. Then they heard this, and then the son got down from the horse, and then the father began to ride the horse, and the son started to walk. Then as they move a little bit forward, then another set of people begin to say that, oh, what an irresponsible father. He's making his own son walk. And then they heard this too. So then they were like, okay, then we will both ride the horse. And then as they moved a little bit forward, then another set of people saw this and began to say that, oh, they are really heartless. They are really heartless, and they are putting this animal through so much trouble. And then they both heard this, and they both got down from the horse, and they couldn't bring themselves to ride the horse anymore, and they were walking side by side with the horse. And then as they moved a little bit forward, then another set of people saw this and said, two really dumb people. None of them are riding the horse. They're not making use of the horse at all. So if we have to base what we want to do solely on the basis of what others expect us to do all the time, then maybe we might find ourselves in a similar situation like this father and the son. So it is important that we look at the kind of interaction we have with people and gauge what we want to derive from that interaction. So that interaction first needs to be based on a sense of trust, transparency. And if you hear something from someone with whom you are transparent with whom you are open with whom you in whom you have trust and faith, then maybe they have your best interest at their heart. But if we have to listen to everyone who says something about us, one, we cannot gauge whether they have their whether they have our interest at their heart or not.
Pena ngarang ilojo chibi jirun la shangera. Tam pagile mi lojo yeme da ko gaja ko koran sambandanda da sama ngal lain sam. Ine nga chuju ga lojo che da 당저 시흥청부장도 로 정치도 접지 지파기를 장고라 되는 게심마다 든 참아 돌아 로ペも 장고라 다처럼 미츠 간서 사지 찍래 되네 로 아니 저는 리파야 보래 그래네래 지체리를 장심바를 찍 내가 심바지 치나 야가 요래라니 근데 요라 이네 코란즈기 디 내단들에 정보를 야보를 러줘 야보를 그 소소야 가지고 봐 나 처지 장고 달로 저런부이네 개야 말해서 소소소 갈래 소소 타지 째오다 아미 러주등에 봐 가바다 져야 말아 되네야 다 도말링한테 다로 좁지 장 차상차 사디가라 땅아 잠다 지 인지가 도나로 지겨 건발라 이 테스트 치리 아니 미가실에 다처럼 아니라 인지 도나치니 가르치고라니 gem바이나 럽저 주니어 다 그런 선반나다지 인기를 가서 쉬쉬 제도 말에 같이나 산지 이기라 대제랑아 건바 차상찬디 게시마당 버룰라 this tomon charoja tiborunga hindi jangare anga pinjo 하시까지 쭉 하지 다 아니 지니 힌디로 장을 같이 야 근데 레이도 내가 야미 러브죠 이제도 가시기 점주 치기더라 어디 장고래 신이 개참버랑 아주 자가는 받디디가 고고래 하바도 저런서 레자리 기 장와이나 만족이 나체마 다사디 자가니 마타래 디기 게 아마도 장나 백해 참버라냐 아 가시 저런 디지털라 디 미츠한자 디니칼레 점이 가르치 올래 딱 가르리네데 내 시선나는 거랑 가르장에는 가시 가봐 저거 가신디요 네 소스스 그딱 들 고바 카르도 가시 카르도 아니 소좀 지금 산나탄 판도야다 딱 소스 장에는 소스를 메일 파시나 개페 단다 드와로에는 미 마무치리 오르데 지금 전자 미치니랑 같이 좋아하는 로치 소스 제투엘 팽다 예망에 뜻는데 장메와이나 라 제가 소소기 담보 타 제주디가라 아니 미기 가시 야를 가시 마가르스 가시 가나 야포치는 라와이나 코랑이 산을 네치다 라 근데 무스라 저도 소 아주 베길 질래야 트미리티 타랑 질래 디 너딘데 디죠 라
So then I would like to maybe share my own personal journey and how in my own personal journey as a spiritual monastic, I faced the same kind of challenges. For example, as part of the classical monastic education, you have to spend almost 18 years in your study of the scriptures. Now, as I was pursuing my Buddhist studies, then in the initial stages, I met people who advised me along the lines of, you are very young, you are very sharp, so don't waste your life trying to pursue trying to spend 2 decades studying Buddhism. Maybe it's better to pursue something else, science, economics, anything else, and you'll be able to complete your studies much faster. And this was the kind of advice I got from people. But I decided on my own that I will pursue my spiritual studies. Then, as I graduated from each class to the next, then I took an active interest in studying English. And then the elder nuns, begin to advise me that why are you wasting your time studying English? Instead, you can dedicate your time and energy to study the scriptures more effectively. And then After I completed the traditional monastic education, I had like a little break in between before I pursued my Geshema degree. So I took it upon myself to learn Hindi and a little bit of Sanskrit in this time. And when I was trying to do that, then I met people who told me, why are you wasting your time? It's better to kind of dedicate this time for your practice and so forth. So you will meet people who suggest, maybe with the best of their intentions, something contradictory to what you want to do, but you yourself have to decide on your own. Now, I am happy that I made those decisions on my own. The fact that I'm able to kind of communicate with you effectively and understand where you are coming from is possible because I took these decisions to study something else, to pursue myself, to dedicate myself to my spiritual practice. So this is what I have learned from my own personal journey. And in Tibetan we have a saying, discuss it with other people, but decide it on your own.
Okay, she will cool to you. You? Yeah, question.
I was reading about the course. It is called Stages of Meditative Practice and state reflection and contemplation in meditation. So just wanted to know in brief what is that?
That's not Geshema's course.
And
Okay.
in general,
Okay.
what stages of meditation?
Tadanda Kurangi Zindaroji Gola Chabdaroji Tongikara, the Beijing Gingongi Zindaisaya, Gomji Namshajira, Ninganzo Gomjavala Tango Tuba the Sambang with the Dogores, and it was some Gomsum like the Namshadita share. Any Gomjida Nanzogi Rimba Laura, Lamji Rimbana, she Gomla and Rimbayora. Any Gomji Rimba like the Nanzogi countries, any Koaso Gorobes.
다치당게 곰라 저 곰들 지곰던 지고니 샤고라 당한저 잠잠 소소를 라리도 라 가지지지 베나스 미카시 소소소 샘디 다부자마트 텐데로지나 베 샘데 참링이 전이 참된기다 텐데로이나야 카드 담 내거들 우동랜도 장야 라 샘디 디가스 내야시 우리 텐데로다 텐에 페드 소소가 로 니바도야야 지리 못하고 고미알라 소버와 아니 잠잠 저 제바치네 제곰라데 유치글 샤네 디카르 진짜 삼타나 고미야라 야 조금라디가라 따따이 치파로레 너저 지페네 산지기 구도이나레 소소 소자이라마나 카리나 딘데지 샤네 디 미팔라 샤네 디베 데가란 네투야 아 지당 담으려 다 지당에 자첨부시는 지 신의 공단 마무지어라 딘데도 체 아니 소소기 딘데 곰디 소소레 펜도 돼 눈에 아니 산이 나니 신이 맞는 메트는 거네
So then when we are talking about meditation and the stages of meditation, first we need to understand the different types of meditation that is cultivated as part of the spiritual practice in Buddhism. So we talk about two main types of meditation, an analytical form of meditation and what we call a stabilizing form of meditation. Now, analytical, as the name suggests, refers to analyzing the object of meditation with reasoning and so forth. Now, the stabilizing meditation herein, stabilizing refers to stabilizing your attention. And at one point, one should be able to develop a one-pointed, single-pointed concentration on the object of meditation. So these are the two types of meditation that is cultivated in Buddhist spiritual practices. Now, rather than talking about what exactly are the stages of meditation, one first needs to ascertain for oneself what exactly is one's own need to practice meditation first. So if it is the case that you have a general tendency to become very distracted throughout the day, that you are not really able to manage and regulate what goes on in your mind, that you become distracted, that you have a lot of wandering thoughts, and maybe then you start with a simple practice first to be able to stabilize the attention a bit on an object of meditation. So we choose an easy object of meditation, something tangible like the breath, not a mental image or a visualization, something tangible like the breath. And we try to place our attention simply on the breath and not to let our attention distracted by any other thoughts. And even when these thoughts do arrive, we learn to be able to place our attention on the breath again and again and again. So this helps us to overcome the tendency that we have to be distracted by wandering thoughts. And then as you kind of develop your practice in this manner, then you can maybe begin to approach analytical meditation by meditating on impermanence, making sense of impermanence, and then moving further you can kind of begin to meditate on more complex objects of meditations. So insight is developed from analytical meditation, insight into the nature of reality, and concentration, one-pointed concentration is developed through stabilizing meditation. Please.
So when you were talking about compassion and thinking of all sentient beings as our mothers and about not differentiating between nearness and farness, when I try to practice that, it becomes difficult because I get attached very easily to some people and I have strong, sense of, I find it hard to approach some people. Maybe it comes from my low self-esteem. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm afraid of some people. So how do I approach having compassion for people who are not angry or hateful, but I have a sense of fear of judgment.
Tene Kurang Tiwa di Tanda Nganzo Nyingji Gomde Zambasra Thangpa Nyingji Gombala Ane Nganzo Ki Ta Nyingji Chenpo Gombala Rasra Yana Nyingji Gombala Nganzo Ki Thangpo Ane Semje Thamje La Ane Madabu La Tago Resra Madabu La Tago We Goba Di Ane Nganzo Ki Nyirengi Chaktan Jora Ane Di Doga Chedo Resra Ane Semje Thamje La Ane Nyireng Chaktan Ki Ane Shemba Dojora Di dogo nasra ani suzuki nye sala chakbada ani chi dada parmala sokbala dawa che ra tende che yo mare song ro as yena ya kurang gerji nyamno la chenasra ani susu chaksa gi midela ani chikshuk chembo chadu dosra ti nye da ani loka nyebo dozula yena ani chi parmala sokbada ani suzuki dansa jora tela ani pe Kijaro Shego Chunaya, Pa Chik Dewada Sogo Chunaya, Pe Kaburegi dos. In Korangi Samloji Toyin de Zama, di Soso Semna la Dengsue Mejora Hachi. Dengsue di Karja Yunga Malana, Shenang Shuk Chamboji dos. Pajo Midigi Chikare Lama Yung Samsando. Pajo Midigi and Kare Sama Yung Samsando Gira. Susu la Shenang Shuk Chamboji dos ra. Te Chimbe ni Nyema Imbe Parmala da ni Dala soba, ta dala ne pajumi di chik netsi chigen da mahina yansura susu semna shenando chigi mutus.
Re tanga tsu chitang ye shamba gom de gala. So de nganzo tambo pa thedang ro de susu mai ting gom ina. Ra susu ma de kadi chambo ina da dende gom de gala nganzo rashi ki senta nyebuli da. Ra nganzo dene kyang hama ya nganzo thama chik chila ma chi de yin dewa yu de yin ro samtan ra. Chitang nganzo ki shi chikla susu ki hinji do che waina ani kola goba na se kola hinji che goba da kola dewa goba da ra tende ji goba na se shimba de la goba ra tende kali kapo ya ine nganzo tambo te kali kapo ro ne re nganzo da ro chila chige hinji go ya kali kapo da susu la chik kadi na nak bol le ne ro dongde che de nganzo pa kom kali kapo ro yi dong da de ra ine tambo susu ki 사변도 수수기 년이 있어더라. 라. 디부체원 참바지 계시 간데 좋은 디치 갈리 카포 아ቱ는 갈리 많다. 라. 단단한 쪽이 라바나시 참만 냠니 제토 갈리 카보. 이내야 수수기 오 나티 지투모도 디쩐제 레샤 사메 데코나 빼야 버려. 라. 갈리 좋아다.
So this is indeed true that it is very, very difficult to kind of put this kind of instructions into practice immediately, and we shouldn't expect to be able to put this kind of instructions into practice immediately. The difficulty that we feel and experience is justified. And now if we are to overcome this difficulty, we need to go back to contemplating effectively. For example, when we look at the difficulty we have in generating love and compassion to other people, to people other than our loved ones, then first we need to look at ourselves and how the manner in which we cherish ourselves. We cherish ourselves as being deserving of love, care, and compassion, right? Now we need to extend that towards others with the acceptance that just as I do want happiness, others also want happiness. Just as I don't want suffering, others don't want suffering. So it does not mean that we neglect caring about ourselves. Caring about others comes from that acceptance of first caring about ourselves and extending that sense of care towards others. And now if we are able to do that, now we have something with which we can work with. And then we can first begin to meditate on, as we discussed, on recognizing sentient beings as our mothers first, rather than immediately being able to generate love and compassion to them. So if we work on contemplating how to recognize sentient beings as our mothers, then this brings us closer to others. They appear more appealing to us. And through that, we will be able to kind of develop love and compassion slowly. We cannot expect to do it immediately.
Yeah, so I have a question and it's related to karma. So we have been talking about the fact that our actions can have influence actually in our rebirth, right? But I have
Imprints.
Imprints, what we will be experiencing, or the context in will develop for the next life. But I was also thinking if it's like in this life, I mean the actions we have in this life will also have some influence on our karma in this life. That's the first question. And also if there is like something like a family karma or collective karma, because sometimes you see like families that they are like suffering from kind of same things, like okay, these people got stolen, got like robbed, and then you see like the father also have like some kind of negative experiences, and then also the grandson. So if there is also such a thing like a family collective karma, those are my questions.
Tene tiwa nipu dile junde nyamdo dewa yusra Thangpa dinganzo ki ni tsedi la sabi le digi sira shebe ting la paja jisha ne sira tse jima ki ni tse jima la ni shujen tegi yores tisong roas ta tse digi le sajo tegi sira shebe ting do paja shawa tegi sira tse taga rang la sira shujen tegi rebes tiwa Thangpa di tiche tiwa nipa di ni nganzo ki le la du zamba ni le soso ki sa re la ge je chi gi ras ina samlo chi ne ta na thumun ji le la ji yongsi bare dwas pena cha shana chimzang chi na sra ani thumun ji le ro ji yo ba di ngung gi dwas chimzang di gi de do da ina thumun gi nyong go ba ra in chimzang chi na ka nye ro je na thumun ji nyong go ba ra tende ro ji tung gi dwas chizan thumun ji le la ji es
tapena nga le ji sa ne ra le di pacha jirwa tanga zo gi pacha nan le dream member ra tse kashi ta le la sim sha gor tambo le jirwa thongchu nyong ji le ji chene nyong ji le lende shenla nyong ji le sin ra tanga zo pena thongchu nyong ji le na tanda chang gi tse tu le ga ya bo che na de shuman de bo tseme len de bo ya bo me de thongchu nyong ji nga zo mi gi thong ya che jirwa ta lenda shenla tanda chang gi le sa ya dinde le di pacha sha ne kyo shuman nyong ba ra ko le tab chele ta tandu lega le de shu chyo ye na ani jime nyong ba ra tende gi ta le kondam le ra cheza lende chene nyong je lenda shala nyong je le ani 통주 뉴주 le so shai da chi che dan da khorang la sa nganzu so le yang le da sinji chi theng le la ju ra da so ge sinji ji ma da so ge le de khane so bo de du da khande na da so ge le chi sa ju ra so zu la cho namba ju no khande ju na so ge le chi do da yang nganzu koyu khorala ra koyu shide pape yesa lumba de ji na nganzu chame gi le chi de ra ben khazang nam chi dab da ni je mi ma mo thong da 이내 코란스 수수수수를 내요래 소수수 남이다 공단하게 레지 요래 이내 단다 상만냠도 지는 통고야 돼 코란스 토목이 냐마 레지 사야 나도
디나미직 타르들라이다
드는 타다 딘데로도 항사야라 코란한 단다디 에미제스 마 파사지 되네 배우네 그 동발을 말을 쓰는 미세다 직치에서 말아 계속 시토다 데레 삼지 미자라메 데 참마 되는 마사고래 와디는 직한 스타일 단도 직래야지라 디나 잘라 참마치디 뎁치민들라이다 라 덴데로 도 캔사 슈라 다디 다디 데데 레라에 나미나미시 다디 샤시라 기타 덴데 레레사 소소 토모글레다 치토글레 니제 마라 게글레 니 레스라.
So with regards to the first question, then when we are talk about karma and the manner in which it manifests itself, then we talk about the three types of karma in this context. A form of karma that ripens in this very lifetime. For example, you apply yourself in your studies, in your work, and then you reap the rewards later on in your life, right? This is a karma that is evidently ripening in this very lifetime. Then karma which ripens in the very next life due to the strength or the potency of the karma. It's a very strong karma that you have accumulated, so it manifests itself in the very next life. And then a form of karma that manifests itself across many lifetimes. Not immediately in the next, but maybe even the next after, maybe even after 500 births, it still has yet to be manifested, but it does manifest itself after 500 rebirths. So these are the three types of karma in this context. Now moving on, there is indeed something called a collective karma. For example, with regards to the personal karma that we accumulate, it dictates our well-being in the birth we take, our prosperity, our appearance, our faculty, in intellect, our sense faculties, and so forth. Now, collective karma could be simply understood as the environment that you find yourself in. So, for example, we are all here together in this environment. So we have the collective karma of being together in this environment. And then just recently there was a plane crash, the Air India plane crash. There was only one survivor in that plane crash. So it is the collective karma of the rest of the passengers from many different random backgrounds to be in that plane, and that only one survives and the rest of them perishes. So these are the kind of manner in which karma manifests itself. If we really have to get into like the subtleties of it, it is very, very difficult to explain.
다 진짜 차셔라. 샤워.
다 안조 차 퍼센트 돈나 말해.
디젤 터트 저래 갈수.
다 디진에 디치우. 또 디치.
지금 말아. 단다 이제 쉬우마.
쉬우마.
근데 이 아니 저런 참에다 이만 하실래 배 돈나 빼고 나 소스라. 아니 투지 체스 쉬로지라. 디니 다 가서 다 사실 가서갈 탐도라. 수수 지금 미츠 나로라. 다치 기우치네. 미츠 기우진지 라로스 구수도 맞아진. 다딩이 담을 랍자라. 오늘 내가 가서 미츠 찐지 오래. 딜을 니마 따바지 강에로 동네 두자 자네 제고합니다. 미츠 하마데 기우친 같이야다라. 니마 간데치네 개마라. 다스스 마음바이 미츠. 아니 징가서 거더 룽아 예수입니다. 향저 슈톤마 내가 쳤는데 수수수다. 당한테 먹기집을 들은 거를 세워서 다 개문들아다. 룽아 예수 수수 지 가르치원에 체다네 마치 체. 근데 지원에 수수를 미츠래. 아니 카유라의 펜토레스라. 아니 온다 같이. 아니 정말로 투치나스라. 아니 거더는 잡고 치러 체스. 아니 계줄에 투지 체스 오늘 오라. 다들 징가 대오시라 미디가라 키데 세오메 와라. zamda thela ma mu chigdura tini chidi kirang pe kala ya pachasra tuchena shi samala tuchena.
So now as we reach the end of our course, maybe I would like to share my hope for you as you go about your lives. So then, first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for attending this course very attentively, paying attention to the teachings very diligently. I thank all of you for that. And then now as we go about our own lives, I would like to advise you to be happy in our lives, to learn not to be too constricted in our way of thinking, to use what we have learned here to open up our motivations, to develop a breadth of perspective in the manner in which we live our lives, because really we really have to live our lives whether in any way. So it's better to live it in a happy manner than being constricted by thinking about our problems all the time. So as you walk away from here, I would advise you to kind of try to cultivate a daily practice in your lives, and by that I mean to pay attention to the actions of your body, speech and mind. I was hoping that maybe we could discuss the 10 non-virtuous actions, but now due to time constraint it was not possible. But please in your daily lives try to cultivate a practice wherein you pay attention and become mindful of the actions of your body, speech and mind. This in itself is a very, very effective practice. And Geshema says, thank you for the translator.
Because this is not easier, yeah. Very, yeah. So otherwise, we have not a good translator, then very difficult. Well, now, what do you know? This all of come from through his. So thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
아니 타마딜 땅아저디
So we end it with a dedication prayer. Senjo Rinpoche Maje Pana Jejoje Jeba Nyamba Mebaryang Gone Gondo Pewa Shu Pawe Jidar Chimba Dan Kundu Zambo Dean Dejende Deda Kunje Jezo Daloche Gyawa Deda Tanje Ratu Shibe Jawa Tanje Chi Ngowa Kanla Chodo Ngaba De Dage Gewe Zawa De Kunja Zambo Cheche Ratu Ngowa Je Simjen Tamje Dedan Denjo Je Nyenjo Tanje Tado Tongwa Da Shanjo Semba Kana Sujo Pa Deda Kunje Molam Drup Ju Je
단어도 디 화체지도 단어도 니마 ngato karikale jora di ngarantu jibo mai ba ma jisimje thanje gi thende insai di samta de peke chimba hwa lap chimbo na pheche da habada 단어가 사가다 뒤치바 첼야 ye zchu mumju da la ora tchsor.
So now as a parting words, I would like to talk about the importance of the dedication prayers. Now, as we have attended this course together, it is important to dedicate the virtue that we have accumulated from engaging in this spiritual act of listening to a teaching, engaging in a spiritual, attending a spiritual teaching, to dedicate the virtue that we have accumulated for the sake of all sentient beings. And it is particularly important because right now it's Sagadawa, the holiest month in the Buddhist calendar. And we as Buddhists believe that virtues accumulated during the duration of this month multiplies. Yes.